My name's GuyKesTV and I've been a professional mountain bike reviewer for over 22 years. And today, the bike I'm doing a tech talk round on is the Whyte S-120 C Works. Top of the range, enduro shaped, XC tenacious, super committed, all round, all weather trail attack machine. So picking up on the first point, enduro shaped. You know, it's got really, really radical angles for a 120mm travel bike. You got 65.6 degree head angle, working with a short offset fork. So the front wheel is thrown way out in front of you, super stability. But then you got that short stem, 35mm stem, and 800mm race face next R bars, giving tons of leverage. So it's just a massively confident feel from that front end. And it's also a really long reach bike. This large 640mm effective top tube, giving a 480mm reach. That's actually a longer reach than Whyte's S-150 6-inch Enduro 29er. And then at the back here, you've got this 75-degree seat angle, which really helps, really noticeable when you're on technical climbs. Just naturally puts you in that maximum traction position. Even though it's running a relatively slick cross-mark tread on the rear there, this is a bike that never ever wants for rear wheel traction. Part of that is due to this really well sorted 4-bar kinematic on the back, quad link 4 suspension, Whyte call it. They've been developing it and refining it for year after year after year. And as you can see, this is a really stout back end, you know, big old double-sided clevis joints there, really chunky terminals on the top, seat stays there, chunky rocker link, little yoke onto the shock, and the back end is all alloy just to keep the bike relatively affordable. I mean, obviously this is a top end version, but you can get this exact same frame in the S-120 C, the brand new bike they've just launched, for only £3,100, which for a carbon mainframe bike is really impressive value. It competes almost on par with website sale bikes, but with the full backup of your local Whyte dealers. And they've got a really good network of dealers in the UK, and they've got support in the US as well. You know, I'm not going to say it's the lightest 120mm bike by any stretch, but in a lot of cases, when you go for those saved grams, you're also going to lose a lot of that stiffness, that accuracy and that confidence that comes from just having that little bit more weight behind you. The frame is the same as the T130C bike, which is a proper, proper hardcore 130mm 27.5 by 2.6 tired brawler. But they've made slight changes to the kinematic, obviously to compensate for the 29er wheels. Because, I mean, you could fit 27.5 2.6s, but it does drop the bottom bracket a bit too low for comfort. I mean, it's already a low bottom bracket, going back to that sort of enduro vibe. And on this Works version, you've got these Whyte's own carbon 27mm internal rims, just wide enough to put a nice shape into these 2.25, 2.35 tyres, but save enough weight over an alloy rim and just give that real extra pickup. It's already got the super fast reacting XDR rear hub, but with the rims on as well, it really picks up the acceleration, really gives it more jump, more bite out of corners. Bike that just loves to be hustled. We picked up on the fact that it's got a very fast moving tyre on the back to give it that injection of speed, because it really, you know, the traction is so well sorted, it doesn't need tons of grip. But up front, you've got this Maxxis Forecaster tyre, which is just such an amazingly grippy tyre, considering how fast it also rolls. Brilliant tyre for this kind of bike for all-round UK conditions. The fork as well, this factory SC fork from Fox, you've got this very clever tapering on the fork leg, you've got this cutaway on the base, all saving weight. The brace itself is reworked, short offset crown on it, gives that really agile, immediate handling feel. And this is a bike that just loves to put its front wheel exactly where it needs to be. Just instinctive, proper synapse reactions through this. As they say, proudly put a little Union Jack on the back there. This is a bike that's designed in the Cotswolds, tested in Wales, tested on the Surrey Hills. It's a bike, I mean, Whyte have always prided themselves on really UK proof, which pretty much means foul weather proof bikes. So all these bearings are lifetime warranted, which means if there is a problem with them, Whyte will just replace them free of charge for as long as you own this bike. And they're not just throwaway bearings either, they're really high quality bearings, and Whyte even went to the trouble of actually researching which grease would work the best in them. So they ended up with a catering grease in there. So if you got really hungry on an epic ride, because this is the kind of ride that this bike encourages, you could even eat your bearing grease if you wanted, though obviously it's probably going to make you squeaky as well as your bike squeaky, so perhaps wouldn't advise that. Back down here, Whyte, one of the first brands to go fully committed on single chainring transmissions, and you can see that gives them this ability to put in this super broad main pivot across here, And that's where the whole lockdown feel of that back end comes from. Together with this chunky aluminium construction, this bike feels rock solid through the pedals. Helped in no small amount by this race face next R crank with this really nicely detailed hollow back, so it's pretty light but really stiff direct mount ring on there. In terms of other neat UK proof detailing, you've got this gusset around the seat tube there, around the seat post there, so there's no water coming in, and that's tightened up by this little 5mm bolt head there, so that just pops on. Internal wedge keeps it nice and secure, and then the cable routing is fully sealed, and if you look, really neatly arranged, so it comes out sharp enough that it's not going to bother your paint, but not so sharp that it's going to knock into your knees when you forward out the saddle. You got standard bottle cage mounts, and then under here you got a heavyweight chunk of armour to guard against any rock strikes that might be flying off this front wheel, and also plenty of armour along here along the top of the chainstay. Really nice moulded piece of armour down there. This is the top of the range XTR equipped Works version, so you've got brand new Shimano XTR on the back, wide range cassette, 12 speed, clutch equipped as you'd expect. Not going to go into masses of detail on that here. In fact, I'm not going to go into any detail on that here. I'm going to give it more time riding it and then come back and give you a proper thorough review maybe in a month or so. And as you'd expect, up front you've got the matching XTR shifters with these really nice little paddle inserts on there for extra grip. That's a nice bit of detailing. XTR brakes, which have been totally trouble-free so far. And moving around to the other side, you've got the XTR 4-pot brakes, so that's the trail version of the brake, adding a bit more power, a bit more control and modulation. 160mm front rear rotor, and then 180mm front rotor, so trail size rotors for trail size stopping. Pretty much appropriate for this bike. Certainly haven't wanted for any anchorage so far. And then, as you'd hope from a bike designed to tackle as much weather as possible, a thread-in standard bottom bracket rather than a press-fit bottom bracket. And if you look from this side again, you can just see how wide that main pivot is for that extra stiffness in that SCR back end. There's absolutely tons of mudroom in the back here. I mean, no stays at all across that section, so nothing to get in the way of your wheel going around there. Even if you went for like a 2.4 tyre, that's probably going to squeeze through nice and easily. And then down at the base, loads of mudroom around this 225 rear. And I have to say, it feels fantastic underfoot. Really feel like your watts are all going to the right place down these 430mm chainstays. And another bit of really clever specking is this bike yoke Revive seat post. Probably my favourite seat post of any I've used, and I've used pretty much all of them for various group tests and other testing stuff. Already a super reliable post, but with the addition of this neat little reset lever underneath. So all you do, if you do have a bleed problem with it, just flick that lever around and it basically self-bleeds itself. But so far, I mean, I've had a long-term version for best part of a year then. Absolutely no problems at all. Could have easily gone with a more common post, but it just shows this kind of depth that Whyte are going into when they're thinking about the spec on this bike. And a really neat touch again is they've actually slaved it to Shimano XTR dropper lever up on the front, so you've got the same thumb feel on your bars. So again, just really nicely curated component package. As you'd hope for a top of the range Works package, you've got float factory evol shock at the rear with fully adjustable damping, you know, 3-position low speed compression, and then extra fine tuning on top of that, as well as the rebound. And you've got pretty much the same set of tuning in this Fox factory SC fork up front. You've got all the, you know, adaptation you need to get the suspension feel absolutely dialed. But the amount of control this bike pulls out of 120mm really is remarkable. And it just adds another level of damping, another level of subtlety. And this frame set rides really well. So even after a bit, I mean, as you'll see from the live ride review, even after I've been pinning it all day long, it's keeps you in remarkably good shape, even when you are taking the bike out of its depth in terms of how hard you're hitting stuff and how big the stuff you're hitting is. It copes with it really well, and it lets you cope with it really well, which is probably the most important part. I mean, you can pretty much always make a 100mm travel bike go as fast as a bigger travel bike if you've got the skill and determination. But what you find is it just beats you up so much faster. You'll be in tatters way before guys on bigger travel bikes, but that's just not the case with the 120. It's just such a great all-day bike if you just, you know, want to get the most out of every metre of trail, whether it's uphill, downhill or along. Short travel 29s is a category I absolutely love, and there's some fantastic bikes in there. You know, Santa Cruz Tallboy is the classic, the new Canyon Neuron, Specialized Stump Jumper ST, super friendly bike, Evil Following with Cockpit Flare Max is another one, Trek Fuel EX, Norco Fluid, T129, the Whyte T129 was probably the original one where they got it absolutely dialed, Orange Stage 5, Intense Spider Trail, Giant Trance 29. I mean, I've ridden them all and they're all really great bikes and all with legitimate reasons to buy them. But when it comes to that complete package of value, geometry, and of just, you know, really well curated component selections and just that flat out attack character, if you want a bike that's got real bite and loves to get its teeth into a situation rather than just swallowing them whole and not giving you really any sense of the flavour of the trail that you're biting on, this is absolutely amazing. How hard you can ride this bike without getting kicked all over the place, how well it sort of drops landings, stays online, as you'll see from the live ride review, which, yeah, I mean, I have to say, I mean, I can go on about numbers and angles and component package, and they all certainly add up to, theoretically, a brilliant bike. But I have to say, please, 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 go and watch the live ride review. I mean, I've done a bit of an unusual one for this. I basically went out on a full day out, right from pretty much my doorstep all the way through the local single track, out through a local trail centre, right out through all my favourite bits of riding, right into the middle of the moors, just to kind of illustrate just exactly how capable, how versatile this bike is. I mean, I got interviewed for Crank magazine and they asked me what bike, if I had to put my own hand in my pocket, I had to retire now and buy a bike myself, what would it be? You know, there's no bigger compliment than to say this was that bike. The Whyte S-120 C would be that bike. Just the combination of value, the really carefully curated component specs, whether it's this bike, whether it's the new entry-level C model or the RS, which is a bike been my test mule for about the last 8-9 months, ever since I managed to sneak a proto version off Whyte straight after it had come off the Highland 550 epic race under Steve Heading, their endurance athlete. I took it, did 100k in 6 hours in the Steve Morland Memorial race. Since then, I've ridden it every type of ride, whether it's been down the woods with the dog, like today, or ragging it around the Ardmore's Enduro course, doing lead marshal on that with heavier duty tyres on, or proper pinned, you know, head-to-head fight club nights around Stainburn, or it's the, you know, it's the bike that I nearly always pull off the wall, whatever the ride is, because it's so involving, it's so visceral, it's just such an awesome bike to fully attack the trail on. So, yeah, hopefully that all comes across in the live ride review. What else have I got to say? I've got to say thank you to you for watching. Massive thanks to my Patreon supporters who subscribe to my Patreon channel, where you'll find extra exclusive edits, you'll find early releases, you'll find there's some sticker offers on there, and basically it's people getting behind the channel to try and support it long term so I can make more of these videos, get more equipment and produce more content. So if you could consider signing up on that, that would be absolutely awesome. And thanks to Whyte for supplying the bike, thanks to them for sponsoring the video as well. They think my opinion's worth listening to. Hope you do too. Hopefully you realise these are all as honest a review I can make them. I'll talk about the pros, I'll talk about the cons, but this is a bike I can just totally wholeheartedly recommend. And I've already got a couple of mates riding these bikes, just because for the riding I do, for that kind of mix of flat out XC, enduro riding, just aggressive attack every trail you can, whether it's uphill, downhill or long, just keep it pinned. This bike just fits me so well. You know, that's why I've recommended it to a bunch of people, and even this bike is getting sold on to one of the guys I ride with. So blimey, I'm blathering on here. Whyte S-120 C Works, absolutely superb, British designed, British proof, all trail, all weather attack machine. Absolutely superb.